Good afternoon, Jamie Stafford. How are you today?
I'm well, Shawn. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm awesome. Thank you. Jamie, welcome to Lending with Purpose. And again, thank you everyone else for joining our empowering conversations with clients and friends. And today we're here to introduce you to a valuable resource and to solve a few problems to enhance your life. And we do this not just through lending, but in various aspects of your life. So again, Jamie, welcome to Lending with Purpose. And so every week I sort of struggle with a sort of an opening or a topic or a story. So it always tends to come right beforehand. No matter how much I struggle to find a story or to find a how to or did you know, something always trumps it, right? So I was so hoping that Roy and Mom could 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 join us today. So it's really cool, and you actually taught me something as well. So, and I love your spirit behind it all. Like you weren't embarrassed or anything like that. It was like great, like let's do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Jamie Stafford shared the link, and it was our fault because we didn't tell her not to. Shared the link, and the next thing I know, we had a visitor. I heard it pop up, and I saw someone come up on the screen, and I'm like, "Oh boy, who's this?" And sure enough, they were two of her biggest fans, right? Two of her biggest fans.
They are.
Yeah, and so I asked them if they wanted to join us today, and they said no, 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 we'll just watch. And so it was that warmed my heart because prior to to that happening, Jamie and I were just talking about like certain seasons in your life that come, and really having a support system around you, and that just miraculously. We talked about the universe as well and what it has to offer, and the universe, sure enough, popped in and gave us two of your fans and the folks that care about you probably the most in your life. And so that was great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was great. And so with that said, everybody, again, this is Jamie Stafford with Catchafire. So Jamie, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. You're going to tell us who you are, what you do, and then we're going to get into our conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you, Shawn. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that my parents are here. And that was definitely an amazing way to start things out. It goes to show you that even when you're a grown up, you still want your mom and dad to come and support you if they can. And I'm very lucky that mine do. So it warms my heart that they're here. And I'm coming to you from our connection in Chris Lassiter at the CFCBR, which is just a whole story in itself. I wish he were here to do my introduction as well, because he is just someone who lifts everyone up so high. He's been an amazing person that I've met in 2022. So I'm glad he brought me to you. So I'm Jamie Stafford. I'm a Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Catchafire. I've been with Catchafire since December of 2021, and it's been a road to get here into a role like this where I feel like I'm able to use my strengths and talents to do something that I feel so connected to. So I describe it as my unicorn job to everyone, and that holds true today as it did a year ago. And I am just grateful to be a part of the team there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, I think you did a better job than Chris would have. Chris would have been, he'd have told a story 100%. And he'd have said, listen, listen. But yeah, Chris is amazing. I'm definitely happy that he connected us as well. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. But you mentioned this is your unicorn job, Jamie. And you've been working in the nonprofit space for a while. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, working, volunteering,
Yeah.
involved in some capacity since I think my first interaction with a nonprofit was back in 2006. But when I really started diving in was in 2009, when I became a volunteer big sister with Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Capital Region. That's our local chapter here. I was 20 something, spending a lot of time on myself, and wanted to give back. And I'd always been so intrigued by that program. But I grew up in a very small town where things like that didn't exist. So when I lived in the capital region and I saw that there was a chapter there, I jumped right on it, and I got matched with my, at the time, 9-year-old little sister, Essence. And it was life-changing. We were matched for 10 years. So by all measures, a very successful match. I watched her, go from a 9-year-old to graduating from high school and just becoming the most amazing young woman. And it was during that process, all alongside that, I was in sort of a corporate type sales roles in the financial services industry, and was always lucky to be with wonderful organizations and companies that were doing good work, but was always feeling this pull over to the nonprofit space. And it was a few years back that I started thinking, how can I do what I'm good at and what my background is in, to do something where I'm making a difference. And I started looking into organizations where I could do that. And I had a few choice ones in mind, and Catchafire was one of them. So at Catchafire, what I'm doing is asking, grant makers, foundations, corporations, and really any organization in a local community to help Catchafire support nonprofits by bridging the talent gap and getting them access to resources that they wouldn't typically have.
Yes. And so let's talk about something similar to that, right? So that's a strategic partnership, an organization like Catchafire. And so what do strategic partners look like in the nonprofit space?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different strategic partnerships in the nonprofit space. We're asking nonprofits to solve the biggest problems in our communities consistently, the biggest problems, and problems that in a lot of our everyday lives we don't see. So we do that, and we ask them to do that with very limited resources. And we have foundations out there doing amazing work, providing grants. We have community supporters, but grants are great. What we're doing is asking for people to think outside the box in terms of resources, right? Nonprofits are always going to need money, but they also need, access to talent. When an executive director doesn't, they're not born saying, I want to be an executive director of a nonprofit when I grow up. They get passionate about a cause, they want to make a difference, and then they land in this role. And then all of a sudden, right, when they want to just be advancing the mission and doing that work, they're hit with, I've got to work on financial statements, right? Like I need a social media presence. Our website is old. What is our marketing strategy? How do I do an annual report? And it's never ending, right? I can't imagine, completely overwhelming. So again, while grants are great, what we need to do is think outside the box and help these nonprofits build capacity, help them get work done so that they can focus more on their missions and being out in the community. So a strategic partnership, to me, is finding partners out there that are helping advance your mission in whatever way that is, and doing so in a long-term way, right? In a sustainable way, not a one-time fix or a Band-Aid, but a tool or a resource that can continue to be used to grow and thrive.
Right. And you mentioned access to the resources and the talent, right? So tell us specifically what Catchafire does. I know, and actually, it dawned on me a couple weeks ago. We were I'm affiliated with also another organization, and we're partnered with Catchafire, and thank you for that. And we're diving even deeper into using Catchafire because we're limited. So the 5 of us that founded the organization, alongside with the members of the organization, we don't have necessarily the bandwidth that it requires for us to run this thing full time, right? Because we have families, we have lives, and we have full-time jobs and such. But as you mentioned, like this mission, no pun intended, but it caught a fire, right? And it's something that we're super passionate about. We're fired up about the legacy of it, as well as you talked about sustainability. And so the other day we were talking about, well, how can we get more help? What do we need to do? And so we're contemplating about what types of projects we wanted to put in Catchafire. And I don't know, I was like, duh, this is like the Upwork and the Fiverr for I guess, and maybe you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, but for nonprofits. Would you kind of say that about Catchafire? Like, obviously, please explain to us what it is, but was my analogy somewhat close to what it is that we're doing here?
I would say it's definitely close, right?
Okay.
It's taking the overwhelm away and allowing people to do the work that they want to do, advance the mission, do what they're passionate about, and take all of the other operational work and outsourcing that to people who are being paid to do this in their 9 to 5 roles, right? You're not just hiring or you're not just getting a volunteer who wants to do something good. You know, if
And
you
let me
need
stop you real quick. I apologize. And so I say Fiverr and Upwork, but we don't have to pay for it
correct,
because the other
correct.
professionals on the other end are volunteering. So I
It's
wanted to make sure I said that because that's the
yeah,
biggest difference and that's a great benefit. So I apologize for interrupting you, but I didn't want to
no.
let it go any further without saying that.
Listen, there's nothing I'm more passionate about than talking about what we do. And I mean I can tell you, like, in the most basic way, like, we connect volunteers who want to give back to nonprofits who need work done through our partnerships with foundations and corporations. But what we do is so much bigger than that. Um, I'll, if I can, I'll share a little bit of our founding story. I always find this to be an effective way to explain what we do. So,
We have time,
uh,
so please do. Please do.
okay. So about 11 years ago, our founder was doing a Hands and Hearts volunteer project. And she's a professional out in the world doing a Hands and Hearts volunteer project. She's looking next to her, right? And she's seeing like a CFO with a hammer and a CEO who's painting. And, you know, you understand the picture here. And the story is that ultimately this house had to be taken down because it wasn't put up properly. And it was really more of like a team building activity where people were volunteering, but nothing really got done. And she started thinking, why would a chief financial officer, if they want to volunteer, not be giving a nonprofit their their expertise in financial statements? Why would a chief marketing officer not be helping with a rebranding strategy and down the line? And so Catchafire was born, which I believe was a lyric in a Bob Marley song or something. But when we started, we were going to nonprofits one by one and giving them access to Catchafire, which is essentially an online marketplace. We're a platform where we are connecting about 100,000 skills-based pro bono volunteers to nonprofits across the country and beyond who need to get work done. And these volunteers come to us through we have a partnership with LinkedIn. We have corporate partnerships that are bringing in their employees to get this work done. And then we also just have people who are out there searching, you know, how to give back. And we saw a huge spike in virtual volunteerism with COVID. And the beautiful part is, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, why do people do this? Why do people want to give back? And there's a lot of reasons to volunteer, right? I mean, it's tied to better mental health. You're going to hone in on some of your skills. If you're maybe working on your portfolio as a graphic designer, you can start to build that up. Everybody gives back for different reasons. And I was just talking to a friend lately about how it doesn't really matter why you give back. It just matters that you give back. We're all motivated by different things, right? But I will say that most people are just good. They do want to give back. And what Catchafire does is provides an avenue to do that virtually, where you can not only give back, but you can give back what you're good at. And you can find a nonprofit that you're passionate about and give back to a cause that you feel strongly about as well. So back to my founding story here is after we were going from nonprofit to nonprofit, we had a foundation partner early on tell us that to really get Catchafire in the hands of as many nonprofits as possible, which is our ultimate goal, our North Star, we'd have to seek strategic partnerships ourselves to tie that back into what we spoke to. So foundations that are already in these communities and who know these nonprofits well, that's who we partner with to bring on the nonprofits who then get matched with these professionals. So, and also we have 150 pre-scoped projects, as I know you've seen because you have an account with us. And so we take the onus off the volunteer and the nonprofit and make it as easy as possible to get work done to free up their time.
Yes, it is really, really easy to do so. Do you have a success story that you could share with us about Catchafire and how it's helped an organization that you could share
I
with us?
have I have so many.
Do you have like
um,
sort of a favorite?
yes,
You don't have to take favoritism. I don't want to get you in
I
trouble,
do.
but like give us one.
I have a favorite. So there is an organization called Black Women Stitch. It was started by Lisa Woolfolk back in 2017 after the Unite the Right riots out in Charlottesville. And she started this sewing group. She wanted Black women to be able to come together, sew, just be fully themselves, talk about, what's going on in the world. And it started gaining some traction, this group. And she decided she wanted to become a nonprofit and do more. So she didn't even have her 501c3 yet. She went to the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation for a grant, but wasn't quite ready to be receiving a grant at that point in time. But they're one of our very progressive partners, and they also on their grant application had a checkbox that said, "Would you like access to Catchafire?" And Lisa checked that box, and she ran with it. And I wish I knew the numbers off the top of my head. She completed hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of projects in a very, very short period of time in her first year or two with Catchafire, and went back to the Charlottesville Area Community Foundation and asked for a grant. They were able to give her one. They said, clearly, you've got this capacity building thing down. We know this money is going to go to a great place. Here you go. And the long and short of it is that she's now a staff of 3. She's 501c3. She has a beautiful website built by Catchafire volunteers. She runs an Apple podcast that on a monthly basis is done with Catchafire volunteers. I mean, you name it, she's outsourcing it. She's getting work done, and she's out there advancing her mission every day. And this was one of those small, under-resourced nonprofits that gets overlooked every day. And that's probably my favorite impact story.
Wow, wow. And so she talk about using your resources. So she's used all those resources to build this amazing organization that's helping tons of people. And so where she started was sort of a roadblock, right? Because she wasn't able to get the grant. Many of us would have said, "Oh well, I quit. They don't want to give me the money. I can't pursue what I'm looking to do to move forward." But she took the opportunity to utilize the resources to help her scale her business, and here we are. And she ended up getting that grant. That's a really amazing story.
Yeah.
You all have her as a poster child? Like, is she up in lights? She
I
deserves
mean,
to be.
yeah,
It sounds like.
listen, she's a favorite, but I'll tell you, I've got countless stories. They just
Wow.
go on and on and on. It's an incredible resource.
And what are some of the services? So two things. Some of the programming or services that you found, like maybe the top 3 that are helping organizations, nonprofits. And then the next part of that question is can you share some of the upcoming programs of Catchafire as well?
So you're asking which projects seem to be
Yeah, like which
sought
ones
after?
are pretty sought after and popular for for folks that are listening here that are potentially going to engage with Catchafire. Like, what are some of
Mm-hmm.
the projects that you're finding move the needle more often than not for nonprofits when they're using Catchafire? I know there's many services that you have, but like, which ones are popular?
So our project menu is broken out into categories, and I would definitely say that our marketing area is probably one of the most used project areas. So anything from needing an infographic to help with an annual report. We see a lot of like video, making videos, things like that. But it's a great question. I'm a little bit stumped. I definitely know that marketing is probably our top used, but I'd have to find out, what if there's like a number 1 project or something. It would be pretty fascinating to know. What is interesting is the what we do with our funder partners is we have because we work with so many nonprofits, we're able to measure impact. So we have impact metrics dashboards where we're able to show our funder partners who are bringing on these cohorts of nonprofits and giving them access to Catchafire, we're able to show them which nonprofits are using the platform the most, which projects they're posting, when they're posting them, how they're rating Catchafire and the volunteer experience overall. We're also tracking which communities they're serving and which cause areas they're serving. So for some funders, this is really valuable because it's giving them more insight into what their grantees actually want.
Wow. It doesn't sound like you were stumped there, by the way, Jamie. We are using marketing. That's one of the things that was very enticing and helps us a lot because, without the social media presence, without letting people know what you're doing, it's hard to kind of get involved and give if you don't know anything about the organization's story. But I was just really I got excited when you started to talk about the impact metrics because for many organizations, that's kind of hard to track and it's hard to get or gather that data. And so that's something that you help with also.
Yeah, we've gotten better and better in collecting data, and the metrics dashboards that we have created now are one of the biggest benefits to our funder partners for sure. We're coming back to them in the middle of the program and in the end of the program and showing them engagement for their cohort of nonprofits and they're seeing their investment 3-4 times return on investment with the impact dollars that their nonprofits are gaining from outsourcing these projects to pro bono volunteers. And I also would be remiss if I didn't mention, and I had a former colleague who I loved when he spoke about Catchafire, was the whole other side of this, which is how a volunteer is very similar to how I came into this line of work from volunteering in 2009, is the way a volunteer's eyes are opened up to a challenge that a community is facing when they volunteer. And once somebody starts volunteering and their eyes are opened up to a new cause or a new challenge, it's a game changer. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. And so I always like to mention that whole other piece of when we offer virtual volunteering, we're really offering volunteer opportunities to people who may not have thought of it before, may feel like they don't have the time to do so, and may not be sure how to give back. We're saying you can just give back whatever you're doing 9 to 5, just give that back and do some projects that you're familiar with. And in the meantime, they're again being exposed to challenges that they don't see on a day-to-day basis. It opens eyes, and I think that's important.
Awesome. Stay with that though. What are some of the benefits of volunteering and hosting fundraising events? So I come to you and I'm like, I don't have time, or I don't know. And what would you tell me, some of the benefits of volunteering?
I mean, I've got to be super altruistic on the first one here and just say it feels so good. It feels so good to give back. It's the key. Right? It's the key to happiness. Just go do something nice for someone. Go put a smile on someone's face and watch how it not only changes their day, but changes your day too. So first and foremost, when you can give back, everybody benefits. And then of course, there's a whole, there's study after study about the benefits of volunteering. Especially skills-based volunteering, you can continue to refine your skills. You can start to build skills that you want to hone in on that you haven't before. There's a positive link between volunteering and mental health. We just talked about expanding your perspective. That's huge, right? Opening your eyes to something that you didn't see before. I would say networking. Something we also do a great job at Catchafire is every time a project is complete, we do a very quick and easy survey for both the nonprofit and the volunteer, and we ask them to talk about each other. They're really heartwarming, the back and forth sometimes. And then beyond that, we give each volunteer an annual summary of what they've given back, and they can share that out on LinkedIn. So it's spreading the word. You're expanding your network. Oftentimes, nonprofits and volunteers build relationships and continue to speak after they work on projects. So those are just a few of the things I think that make volunteering so wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks for that. So we're going to talk about you now, some government and community relations that you're in. And so from my research, seems like you're active, right? And sporty.
A little bit.
So what activities? Tell us the activities that you enjoy and that you do like on a
Um,
regular basis.
yeah, I need to I need to I need to get less hobbies, I think, Shawn. I think I need to start to scale them down a little bit. But
No, that's probably why you're so productive is because you're busy and you have so many hobbies.
maybe. Um, I'm a pretty big runner, so I just ran my 11th marathon in April. Boston. Thank you. Boston was a dream of mine for a long, long time, and I finally got it done in April. So obviously, I've spent quite a few hours running, and that's probably my top hobby. I would say. In addition, I love to hike. I love to ski. I do a lot of yoga. Um, and in general, just love to be outside as much as possible. That's where I'm happiest.
Got it, got it. And so you could have joined our chair yoga today. So every month,
Oh,
what is this? The first or second Thursday of the month right now?
this
I
is
don't.
this. This is the second. This is
All
the
right.
second,
So
right?
this I think so. I don't
No.
have a calendar in front
Uh,
of me. Hang on. I want to look real quick because I don't want to misspeak.
okay.
This is uh, this is the second Thursday. So the
Yeah.
second Thursday of every month, um, during the pandemic, we were having our team do chair yoga. So during that time, we're all sheltered in place and sitting at our desk and not really exercising as much as we possibly could. And just sometimes you just need a release. And so a friend of mine connected me with a great yoga instructor. And so she's just like, you know what, we could do low impact and do some chair yoga. And so we opened that up to our community. And so every second Thursday of the month at noon, we do that. So at first, we didn't put uh, virtual and chair yoga on there. So we didn't have much
Mhm.
participation because I think everybody was thinking we're going to have them in these different, poses and headstands and handstands and stuff. But it's chair yoga. And so when you said that, I was thinking today we did that, and I'm wondering if how people would feel about that. So maybe you can join us and laugh at us all because we can't do the poses that you're
Oh, I would never laugh at you. And
doing.
it's always a good thing to stop and take some deep breaths and stretch a little bit in the middle of the day. Never a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah. And how's that impacted? I'm interested to know more about the yoga piece. Like how long have you been doing it and how's it impacted your life?
Oh, it's a great question. I'm a certified yoga instructor.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, yeah, I got when did I do that? Back in I don't know, maybe 2016 I got my certification. I'd say that was another pretty pivotal moment for me. I it was over the course of a summer and took some time to really deep dive and figure out what makes me tick and what my patterns are. Some of them are good and some of them are need improvement. Um, and I taught for a little while a few years back. And this is an interesting conversation because just a couple weeks ago, I felt this pull to get back into teaching a little bit. So I am teaching pro bono yoga one night a week at a local studio. Monday nights, I teach a class. So um, it has also had a really big impact on me. I won't go too deep, but anytime you're pausing, right, and looking inside and checking in with yourself, and I think we all get so busy. I just talked about all my hobbies. I have two young daughters. I work full time. I love life, so I'm doing a lot all the time. And to balance that, it's really important that I slow down. And I've gotten a lot better at this, at recognizing when I'm doing a little bit too much and when I need to just shut down and find some silence and some stillness and figure out the best way to move forward. So.
That's awesome. So my question to you is, do you involve charity in your activities? And it sounds like you are. Like so, for instance, you're volunteering and you're doing that pro bono, and so that's pretty amazing. Like your races and such, are you raising money at all when you do that, or you just is it something like hey, I want to put this on my bucket list and get it done? Is that like it sounds like that's what Boston Marathon was for you as well? But do you incorporate any volunteering and charity into some of those activities that you do outside of Catchafire?
I do. I have tried, I'd say maybe half of the marathons I've run, I've tied to Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Capital Region. So I think Boston, I might have raised around $4,000, and I was averaging about one marathon a year for a little while, and I would just tie it to a fundraising event and see what I could come up with. And I had some good success with my professional network, in particular, in getting some donations. So yeah, I mean, why not, right? And that would be, for anyone who does stuff like that, I say, why not just tie it to a local organization and see what you can get. People tend to be really supportive when you're when you're putting yourself out there and doing something really difficult while you're fundraising.
Yeah, and something is always better than nothing. Like in regards to, I used to judge myself a lot too as well with the fundraising aspect of it, like thinking like this isn't enough. I wish I could give more. Um,
Yeah.
but what I found is that these organizations are very grateful, and it does go towards helping in a great way. And so us, like in regards to the company that I own, is we're a mortgage organization. And so what I found is that we should and we must, and one of the parts of what we do is tying events and such into some sort of a charitable event. So, like if you're doing something in the winter, bring a canned food, bring a gently used coat or whatever it might be. If there's an event where you can scan a QR code and give it to your charity, each month with our newsletter, if you open our newsletter, you'll be entered to win something. And more often than not, at least once a quarter, we'll donate to someone's favorite charity. Things of that nature. And so you mentioned earlier about giving, like giving is everything. Like it feels so good to give, and so it's everything. And lastly, I'd be remiss in saying that I won't shout the company out, but one mortgage company, Jamie, that I used to work for previously, we would have service trips, service projects, and we would go and we would rebuild communities and such, and we would just add towards those communities. And every, like the President's Club's trips you take with sales, you're in sales, you get a trip for doing an outstanding job at work. I don't know if those are the types of companies you work for before. Definitely not in the nonprofit space, right? But every one of those fun trips that we take to get away, right, we would always have some sort of a charitable component, whether we would go to a school and give book bags and toys and such. We would always do something, and everywhere we went, there was always a charitable component. And those are the travels that I remember the most, were those and are those that that tied to that charitable event. So I appreciate you doing all of that. And so last thing, almost the last thing about this, what are your plans for 2023 involving Catchafire? I'll let you off the hook on your personal stuff, but involving Catchafire.
Involving Catchafire. So I think 2023 is going to be a really, really exciting year for Catchafire. We have really honed in on who we are and what we want to do. And we want to continue to, seek partnerships with foundations and corporations and government agencies to serve nonprofits, but in particular to serve the most under-resourced nonprofits, the hardest to reach. So, one of our initiatives has been our Strong Communities program. We are helping about 5,000 particularly resource-constrained nonprofits, BIPOC-led, hard to reach. And it's across 10 cities that we're sourcing organizations that are not as easy to find, so that we can provide them with access to Catchafire, so they can do what, the story I told you earlier, can have a tool that when they grab hold of it and take it and run with it, it can change the whole game. So we're going to continue to do that outreach, continue to find partners who are looking for opportunities to go outside the grant, to go above and beyond, to empower nonprofits who are, again, they're tasked with solving the world's biggest problems, the community's biggest problems. They've got to go to foundations for grants. They've got to ask for what they need, write a grant application, get approved, maybe not get approved. Then they've got to decide who to work with. These are all wonderful things. Again, grants are great, but what about just saying, hey, we need resources. We know what to do. We know what we want, right? We know what we need. Let us decide when we want to do it and with whom we want to work, and let us get it done. And so we're going to continue to look for partners who understand that and want to be doing that for their grantees and even non-grantees. And our goal will continue to be to get Catchafire in the hands of as many nonprofits as possible. And I'm just happy to be a part of that.
So awesome. So awesome. So how can we help you?
Well, you could volunteer. So go sign up for a project. I'll tell you, that's how I found Catchafire. Again, I was in a sales role. I was able to match, and I was passionate about Big Brothers Big Sisters. I was able to match with a Big Brothers Big Sisters chapter out in Texas and help their development director with his outreach strategy. It was an amazing experience. So I would definitely encourage anyone to go on the platform and find a project. You can do something as small as a 1 hour phone call with a nonprofit, all the way up to a more involved project. Super rewarding. It's a great way to start.
And then how do we go about doing that? Like in regards to either connecting with you or Catchafire?
Just go to catchafire.org and you will see a space for volunteers, and you can go right on. You'll create a profile. If you have a LinkedIn account, it'll link right up to that. And you will start to be able to browse projects that are interesting to you, organizations that you may feel particularly passionate about. And then you'll go ahead and apply for a project, and we connect, we do all the work. We make it so easy. Platform so intuitive. So just go to catchafire.org to volunteer.
Great. And we put that up there. So catchafire.org. All righty. So we're almost finished. Last question for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. You get one person, one question. Who would it be and what would you ask? One person, one question. Who would it be and what would you ask?
This is a tough one. I could go, I could go a lot of directions with this one. I will say that there's a question that I consistently ask myself and that I ask the universe, if you will. And it is, how can I use my strengths and talents to better serve this world? Whether it's personal or professional, I want to know how to go out each day and use what I'm good at to make the world a better place. And that's what I strive for.
Interesting. You don't have one person you would ask that question?
I will ask you why you.
Of course. I set myself up for that. I knew that was coming. I'm not. I get to ask the questions, but go ahead.
All right. Is Chris on here?
I don't know if
say hi.
He was on earlier, but
Okay.
You know what? I couldn't stop myself because it was already out. I knew when I said that you were going to turn it back on me. So let's do it. Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay. Why? What were you doing the night before you slept in and missed an exam your freshman year of college? And why did Chris have to come and wake you up? What caused you to sleep in that morning?
Because I slept in a lot of mornings. Honestly, likely TV and video games. That's what my gut tells me. I don't know what Chris told you, but likely TV and video, because Chris remembers some obscure stuff, Jamie. Like, I'm sure he told you about a public speaking thing that I did where I talked about how to make instant coffee or something like that. Like, that was my speech, and he always jokes me about that. But I'm pretty sure it was me staying up all night watching TV and playing video games. And the reason Chris came and got me up is because Chris is an amazing guy, and he's a team player, and he didn't want me to get in trouble. And we were on the basketball team together, and so he knew that would be an issue for me if I wasn't eligible to play basketball and whatnot. So Chris has just got an amazing heart like that. Like
He
we
does.
had class together, and he knew because we walked the class together every day for every day that we had that class, and I didn't show up, and so he came to the room to get me up, and I got myself together in world record time, and we sprinted to class and made it happen.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, so I'm going on record saying I'm blaming TV and video games for the reason why
Right.
I didn't get up.
Those are pretty good reasons as a freshman in college. I'm not going to lie. My reasons would have been very different. So
Yeah. I definitely don't think it was anything else. I'm not saying that it wasn't ever a different reason, but this time around, no, I don't think there was any partying going on the night before. I don't think. I don't remember though, but yeah. But Chris is definitely an amazing guy. So that wasn't too bad of a question. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I've got his email pulled up. I've got a bulleted
What
list
did he
of things
say
that,
though? What did he say?
let's see.
What
Oh,
did he
all
give you a
right.
reason?
Oh no, he didn't give me a reason. He just gave me, I asked him, I said, listen, I need to have some stuff in my back pocket in case Shawn does something that stumps me. And he was very happy to oblige. I will
Of
share
course
that.
he was. Of course he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
this is great. So no, thanks for that. I wrote your question down. I think that's an amazing question. Like that's a great question to ask someone. Would you say what can you do to contribute to the world? Is that the
how
gist
can I
of it?
use
How
how
can
can I
I
use what I have, right? Like I don't need to get better at something. I don't need to go out and try and be someone I'm not, but as I am, how can I go out and use what my skills, my talents, my strengths uh to make the world a better place, to make someone's day better, right?
I'm tracking. I'm writing it down so that I can quote you on that. So I'll give you credit for it. I'll act like I made it up, but I'll give you credit for it.
Oh, I doubt I
Um,
made it up either. So I mean, I heard it from someone and it resonated. So
this is your version. Well, this has been great. I so happy that we got an opportunity to speak and chat. You're amazing. Your organization is so awesome. It's helping so many organizations. Honestly speaking, though, Jamie, when I first spoke with you, I'm just like, this is too good to be true. Um, and typically when it is too good to be true, it really is that. And so I can attest to the fact that it works, and it's a real thing, and the purpose that you have is unmatched. And so anybody that gets an opportunity to engage with Catchafire, I really think that they should. It would be such a shame, Jamie, that I have so many folks in the network and people like yourself that are relationships and resources for us not to engage and let the world know about you. So that's why you're here, and that's why we are here. If I can do anything whatsoever to help anyone out there, please don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone, remain as safe and as healthy as you possibly can. And I think we're back here next week. I forget who and what the topic is, but I'll be back next Thursday at 2:00. Jamie, I'll ask you to hang on with me for another minute or so, and as we close out. But thank you for your time today.
thank you so much, Shawn. It was a pleasure.
Yes, this was very fun.